So welcome to another Tuesday Live. 2 in a row. I feel like I'm on top of my game. We are rocking it. We're doing good. Okay. And we're live. Okay, welcome. I can see comments. So if you are watching, let me know, let me know where you're, and I can't read the comments that way. Trying to type left. Okay, so if you are watching, go ahead and let me know where you're watching from so we can get started. So candied strawberries, I'm not quite sure where they originated, but I do know that there is a Hong Kong dessert that has like strawberries all in a skewer dipped in candy. So there's that. But I'm not sure if they started there. I really don't know. I was trying to do some research on it, and there was a lot of mixed comments on where candied strawberries originated. So candied strawberries are just like candied apples, or toffee apples you can call them. So I guess you could call these toffee strawberries. So basically it's just we're gonna make suckers. We're making a thin sugar coating on the outside of these strawberries, and you can actually do it with pretty much anything. Like I said, traditionally this started with candied apples, candied strawberries, but I've also seen candied kiwi, candied grapes, candied mandarin oranges, and I have a couple different fruits that we're gonna try that I've never tried before, so fingers crossed that they work. Good. I can see comments, so now that's good. I know it's working. There's always that moment before you see anybody that you're not sure if everything's working out okay. All right, so has anybody ever made their own suckers before? This is sugar, water, and corn syrup, and you cook it using a candy thermometer to the right temperature. Now I want to talk about temperature really fast because this candy making is really dependent on your altitude. And somebody's calling me. Decline. I should probably put it on like airplane mode or something so I don't get phone calls while this is going on. Great, now I can't see comments anymore. Okay, airplane mode, and let's see if I can still watch. Okay, I can still watch and I can still see comments, so we are good. Anyway, and maybe I can still see comments. Okay, there we go. Back. So candy thermometer. Most recipes are and should be written for sea level, because that way wherever you live you know that you can adjust for that. Now I know some bloggers aren't always aware of high altitude adjustments, so they create their recipes for where they live. I happen to live at a really high altitude, but I try to write all my recipes for sea level, making the adjustments backwards for you guys based on what I have created. But candy thermometer, the best way to really do this. There's all sorts of rules that you can follow. There's a lot of guidelines. I'm working on a guideline for my site right now about high altitude adjustments for baking and candy making. But really at the end of the day, you should test your own equipment. Because if I followed the rule that they have for where I live, about 5,000 feet above sea level, I would actually still be off. And I don't know if it's because my thermometer's off or there's just some fluke where I happen to live, but that's the thing. It's such a personalized thing, you should test it. So the best way to test what you should make your adjustments for is to do the water test. So water boils at 212 degrees Fahrenheit, and so what you want to do is you want to stick the thermometer that you're going to be using in a pot of water and bring it to a boil. And as soon as it comes to a boil, mark where that is, and then that's the adjustment that you need to make for any recipe. So like this recipe today, we're going for like 320 degrees Fahrenheit is what we're trying to get to. 320 degrees, if you look on here, is just above hard crack. 300 degrees is hard crack. Oh, 310 degrees. I don't know why I said 20. That's way off. I'm like, that seems really high. Anyway, between 300 and 310 degrees Fahrenheit is hard crack. That is what we're going for this sugar today. But I know because of the testing that I've done that I need to take off 20 degrees. So I'm only going to go to 280 to 290 degrees. For my own. So anyway, hopefully that makes sense. There's a little bit of math involved, but it's worth doing. And all of a sudden, all these recipes that you were messing up on, or like caramels and marshmallows and stuff you're having troubles with, all those troubles will magically, hopefully, go away if you know the adjustments that you need to correctly make for where you live. Now, if you live at sea level, then you don't have to worry about it. You can just follow a recipe. Lucky you. Although I will say you should probably still test your equipment just to see if your thermometer is actually accurate. Not all thermometers are, so it's still worth testing your equipment. Like I have an oven thermometer that I always test as well, just to make sure, because if it says 350 on my oven, that doesn't necessarily mean it's 350 degrees inside my oven, so that's why thermometers are like my platform. They're those things that I tell everybody they should get. But anytime somebody asks me for a kitchen tip, they're like, what's the one kitchen tip you would tell somebody? It's always have good thermometers. Make sure you have an oven thermometer and make sure you have a Candied thermometer. So that's enough on my platform, so let's get started with this. So, water boils 212 degrees sea level, yep. And like I said, you can look it up, but I would still test it yourself because every thermometer and every location is a little bit different. Okay, so to make our candy, we are going to start with, wrong one. All right, we are going to start with sugar. And this is just regular granulated sugar and water. And we're also going to be using corn syrup. Hold on. There we go. Now I get a lot of questions about corn syrup, and there's a lot of like stories and articles that are freaking people out talking about corn syrup. But what they're talking about in the news is actually like high fructose corn syrup. Those are those articles that you're reading about, and they're in a lot of our processed foods and our granola bars and stuff like that. Corn syrup that you can get at the store that you use for home baking is not the same thing. Is it more sugar? Yes. Yes, it is. But it has its place, and I highly recommend you use it. I get a lot of questions about if you can leave it off. You can. Basically, it's just a sugar syrup, which you're making with your sugar and your water. The reason that I also include corn syrup is it actually is a stabilizer. It helps keep your mixture from getting granulated, and so it keeps, because sugar can get grainy, right? We've all made a batch of caramel or hot fudge or suckers like we're doing now, and toffee, and it gets all grainy and nasty. Corn syrup helps solve that problem. It also gives you a better shine. It gives you a better texture for making something like nougats or marshmallows. It's like how salt and vanilla are flavor enhancers, and I recommend using them. Corn syrup is like an enhancer for candy making, and I really recommend that you not skip over it. All right. So now we're going to bring this to a boil. So I have the temperature on, and I'm going to start stirring it. And I'm trying not to go up the sides too much, because if you get a lot of sugar up here, that's where you can get a little grainage. I just don't want my sugar to burn to the bottom. So just doing a quick little movement of this to kind of get it going, and then we'll leave it and let it boil. All right. Working on my other, a lot of stuff over here. So I had a rough morning. I actually woke up super sick, and I have spent all day in bed, and I'm feeling a little feverish. So if I look a little flushed to you, I apologize. I'm really glad that today was an easy live video, because I am already feeling a little woozy. So while we are bringing this up to temperature, I'm going to make sure that I put my candy thermometer on the pot. Now usually I like to use a pretty deep pot for candy making and stuff like this, because if you can take a look at this, the thermometer is not very deep into our syrup, so we're actually going to have to be doing a lot of tilting to check the temperature while we're making this. But to be able to dip skewers of strawberries and candy and stuff like that, I wanted a wider pan. So kind of a personal preference. If you're only going to be dipping like one strawberry at a time or one fruit at a time, then you can go with a deeper pan. It actually, I believe, helps overall. But if you want to be dipping full skewers, in fact, this isn't even a full skewer. I cut like 3 inches off of this to make sure this would fit inside the pot. But if you want to be dipping skewers, then you need to be going for a wider base. So while we're bringing that up to boil, we are going to prepare some of the fruits that we're going to use. Now I thought I ordered grapes from grocery delivery, but apparently they were out because I didn't get any. So we are going to be working with a couple other fruits. Let's move this off to the side and bring in some fruits that we're going to be working with. All right, so I always do strawberries. That's what this is all about, right? Candied strawberries. But I'm also going to do some kiwis and some mandarin oranges. And we're going to be working on that. So I'm going to cut up some more kiwis. Now you want to, now these kiwis for some reason that I got aren't really super ripe. So when I tried to cut off the end and use a spoon to scoop out the center, which is the easiest way to get the center out, it actually didn't pop out. I don't know, this batch, I guess we're a little bit early in kiwi season and strawberry season. So what I ended up doing earlier today when I was preparing some of these is I actually was just using my knife to cut the skin off. So if you guys have better tricks for me, I just could not get my spoon to easily get the skin off today for some reason. I don't know why. Kind of a weird day, I guess. Okay. And now this, once you cut it, it's all like shiny and a little goopy. So what you want to do is place it on paper towel because we want this to be dry when we place it inside the sugar. So I've already rinsed my strawberries and I've let them drain. For our orange, kind of the same thing, the mandarin oranges, or my family calls them mekons because that's what you call them in Japan. So hope you'll feel better soon. Thank you so much, Michelle and Christina. I appreciate that. There's nothing fun about being sick, right? So anyway, we call these mekons because that's what they call them in Japan. I know that here in the United States they call them mandarin oranges or cuties. I would love to hear what you guys call these. So kiwis, strawberries, mandarin oranges or cuties. I don't know what else they call them everywhere else in the world. Okay, so one of the things that I want to do to prepare these is actually, it's a little time consuming, but I want to try to get off all the extra little like nasty stuff because I don't know about you, but I prefer, these are going to be dipped in sugar and then eaten right away. I don't want to be eating this and have some like stringy mess just kind of make it an unpleasant experience. So personal preference, and again, then we're going to stick them on a paper towel and make sure that they are completely dry before we put them in the sugar. So fruit prep is an important part of this. Alright, so it looks like our sugar mixture is starting to boil, and again, we don't want to stir this too much because if you get a lot of sugar on the outside of the bowl and then you keep stirring it and scraping it in, that will actually cause problems. So makes me a little paranoid just to completely leave it, so I just usually do just a little swirl, not like a full scrape, just to keep some movement going. Okay, I'm going to catch up on some comments really fast. Hello from upstate New York. Hello. What am I making? Candied strawberries. Texas, Michigan, Indiana. Wow, UK, Peru. Nice. Hey, Amber. Malaysia. First time watching me live. Well, welcome, Kathy. Arkansas, Iowa, Kansas, Oklahoma. We've got people from everywhere. Hello, Debbie. Nice to see you. Emily. I don't know about sea level. Hello from upstate New York, Indiana. Feel better soon. Thank you, Leslie. That is how you end up doing it, the kiwi. Thank you, Leslie. I'm glad I'm not alone. It's, man, we don't have anybody over on YouTube today. That is crazy. I love watching mixtures boil. There's just something so pretty about it. Okay, so I'm going to tilt this so I can see my temperature. We're already up to 170. Now I will say one of the things when it comes to candy making to be aware of is don't walk away. It goes really slow at the beginning and you'll be standing here going 110, 111, 112, like you'll just be going, oh, this is taking forever. And the second you leave is the second it like jumps up and all of a sudden it's way over temperature. So definitely stay close. It's a little slow going, but it gets really, really fast as it gets closer to the temperature that you're trying to hit. So be aware of that. All right, so while this is boiling, I'm going to now put some of the fruit on individual skewers. We're just going to do like one piece at a time, and then I'm going to put some of the fruit on multiple fruits on one skewer to make like a little kebab. And the reason that we're making sure to do all of this at once is as soon as the sugar is up to temperature, you got to work quickly because it will either, oh, we're getting a little sugar, turn the fan on. As soon as it hits the correct temperature, you want to work right away. So you want to have everything completely ready to go. Washed, dried, on the skewers, ready for dipping. Because the moment it hits the right temperature, you work quickly because if you turn off the temperature, as you don't want it to go over a temperature, then it's going to immediately start cooling down and getting thick and getting difficult to work with. If you keep the stove cooktop on, then it's going to overcook and it's going to kind of change colors, and it's then going to also get thick and difficult to work with, and so really there's kind of a time frame. Now if you have, I guess if you were doing this on like a, if you were making this for a living, like on a street cart, you would have a way to maintain the perfect temperature so you weren't going over or under temperature, so you could dip for longer. But for us home chefs who don't have access to stuff like that, it's kind of tricky. So one thing that I've seen some people do is they get it to temperature and then they immediately put it in like an ice bath to stop the cooking. And that's a great way to go to stop the cooking, but it also cools down the sugar syrup so quickly that then you're working with a much thicker sugar syrup, which you don't really want to be doing. So I don't really do that. I've tried it and I haven't been happy with the results. They just get so thick so fast. So usually what I do is I actually start the dipping process just a little bit before the sugar syrup is ready, and I turn it off. But then after a couple seconds, I turn it back, not a couple seconds, but it's kind of hard to explain because it's looking at the temperature. As I'm dipping and it starts to get a little thick, then I turn it on to low to try to keep it closer to that temperature so it's not cooling down too fast. So it's kind of a game. So the other word of warning I will give is I get a lot of questions. This is one of my most popular blog posts, and I get a lot of questions on it on Can This Be Made like the day ahead, because they're looking to make this and decorate something later. No, I'm sorry. I mean, on apples, on candied apples, you totally can make it the day ahead because the skin of the apple actually protects the apple, and so it keeps it longer. But for these fresher fruits that don't really have that protection, the strawberries immediately get warm, and then they shrink and they get juicy, and then after a while you have this sugar that's the shape of the old strawberry, and then you have this smaller juicy goopy strawberry that's inside it. So these are actually one of those things that you serve right away, which is one of the reasons that they make a great street food in Korea, because you immediately dip them, hand them over, the sugar cools, and you can eat them right away. But this is not one of those things that you can make a day ahead of time. This is one of those things you can make, I would say at the tops, an hour ahead of time. So I have a cake that I like to decorate with these strawberries. My naked berry cake, where I use a mixture of these sugared strawberries, or these candied strawberries, and sugared fruits. And, sorry, I'm just checking the temperature. And even there, like after the photo shoot was done for the cake, the strawberries are already really starting to shrink within the shell. So this is super fun, but it's not necessarily super practical for a lot of other uses. This is one of the things that my kids really enjoy, because we'll do it like, I don't know, once a month in the summer. We'll set up and I never make a big batch of this. So usually I'm a big batch person because I like leftovers, but for this, I never make a super huge batch. We make some, we dip some, and we immediately eat them and enjoy them, and that's kind of it. Are they safe to eat later? They totally are. They're just not quite the same experience once the fruit has started to shrink and the sugars are reacting to the sugar coating and stuff like that. So anyway, hopefully I answered all those questions. Can you add food coloring to it? Kim, that is a great question. Yes, you can totally add food coloring to this. In fact, you can also add flavoring. Now what you don't want to do is add water-based flavor or oil-based. You want to add candy flavoring. There's a lot of different options out there for flavoring. Make sure that you're using one that is specifically made for candy flavoring so that it reacts correctly. When I do my candied apples for Halloween, I always add black food dye to this. But again, I use candy coloring also. There's regular food coloring, and there's gel food coloring, and then there's candy food coloring, and I use the gel candy food coloring for this. Because it is water-based, you can use regular food gel, but candy gel is just made to react a little better, so I use that. But when you're working with something like chocolate, you have to use like the candy coloring because you don't want to risk the chocolate seizing. Alright, so we are, hold on. Alright, we are getting there. Slow going, but it is coming along. I'm going to give it another swirl. You guys take a look at this now. So you can see now the sugar has completely dissolved and it's totally clear now. So now it's really just a matter of bringing it up to temperature. And if you can see over here on the sides, you can see that the sugar has kind of come up on the sides a little bit, and oh, hot, little bubble popped and got me. And you can see over here, there's kind of a buildup. If I would just use my spatula and scrape all of that back into the sugar, it would actually ruin the candy coating. Because this is now cooled and set up and crystallized, and if you add it back in, anyway, you just don't want to do that. So, like I said, I swirl this, but I never scrape the sides and get super involved with this. Alright, now is a good time to answer some more questions. Okay. Let's see, so can you add flavoring, coloring? Yes. Can you add flavoring? Yes. Feel better soon, kiwi. Hillary, hi. You guys are really quiet today. Usually we have a ton of questions and comments going on. First time watcher, Barbara, hi, welcome. Kathy, love your hair. Thank you. Dennis, is it expensive? Nope. So to make this coating, it is sugar, water, corn syrup, and then whatever fruit you want to dip it in. And you can use toothpicks, but I like to use skewers. So I'm going to put this off to the side for a second, and we're going to create our skewers now. So one of the other things that I have prepped and ready to go for this, because once the sugar hits the right temperature, we're going to work quickly. So I want everything else prepped. So I have a cookie sheet with a silpat mat inside of it, ready to immediately put the fruit down on. You can also use parchment paper, but I like the silpat mat better. I think it's easier to peel the sugar off of later. So really quickly, how long? Okay, I am missing something going on in the comments, so I'm just going to not look at that right now. So, kebabs. Sorry, brain fart, got distracted. So our sugar is up to 220 degrees, and like I said, we are trying to hit the hard crack stage, which is just around 300 degrees Fahrenheit on sea level, but because I am at a high altitude, I'm actually going to take it off before that, about 285 is what I'm going to take mine off at. So we have about 60 more degrees to go. So I'm watching that, and now we're going to make our skewers. So, like I said, I'm going to do a couple that are just the fruit themselves, just to give it a try. I've never actually tried kiwi before, so this will be a fun experiment. And again, I'm patting both sides of this dry because you want this completely dry to dip in. So, we're going to do a couple solo strawberries. Now when I'm doing the strawberries by themselves, I will actually leave the strawberry with the leaves on it. But if I'm going to skewer the strawberries with some other fruit, then I'm going to cut the ends off of it. So I'm going to cut a couple ends off of these smaller strawberries to make some kebabs. See how that goes. And again, I have never tried the mandarin oranges too. I've done the candied strawberries for years and years and years and years, so this will be a fun experiment. So I'm going to start with the kiwi. Oh, be a thicker piece. Start with the kiwi. Add a strawberry. And add a mandarin orange. So we're going to try that as a kebab and see how that does. I'm going to prepare a couple of those as well. Okay. Do the same thing again. So let's see, we've already answered, can you add food coloring? Yes. We have answered flavoring. Oh, so if you're going to use flavoring, again, try to think of the fruits that you're using and what is going to taste good with them. Personally, I usually just leave it as a plain, simple candy coating syrup. My personal preference. I have used, with the strawberries, I have used like a lemon or a lime flavoring before, and I have liked that. So it's just kind of your own personal preference. And one of these. And now I'm going to create, there we go. I'm going to create a couple of mandarin oranges kebabs just by themselves to see how they do. I haven't tried those before, so this will be a fun experiment. And I think my kids are going to love these. And do a couple more strawberries. Alright, so we are at 230 degrees. So are there any other questions while I am preparing this? Looks like we got some spammers, which is always fun. Let's see. I don't know how to, there we go, get rid of them while I'm filming. So you guys are more than welcome to block them or report them yourself. You like my hair color? Thank you so much, Helen. Watching from Sydney, Nova Scotia, Canada. First time watchers, is expensive. No. Okay, you love my videos. They're very informative. Thank you so much, Pauline. I appreciate that. Comment. This is going to be fun going through all these comments later and blocking and reporting. Alright, so we have a couple kebabs. We have a couple just fruits by themselves. I will say the kiwi is, even though I have it pretty thick, it's starting to split on these skewers. So you might want to consider toothpicks or thinner skewers if you are going to try this at home. Alright, we are up to the softball stage, so we are getting close. Alright, kiwi. Strawberry, skewer. Alright, I'm going to try one more, mandarin orange. And then we're going to go back through everything and pat it dry one more time with some paper towels. Because you definitely don't want these to be in any way wet when you get started. Okay. Oh man, I am exhausted. I don't know why being sick takes so much out of you. But it does. Orange. Skewer. Okay, so now we have everything that we are going to be trying. And I have them all ready to go so that as soon as the sugar hits the right time, we can get started. So now I'm going to take a paper towel and make sure that everything, because once we put a skewer through this, obviously these got a little juicy. So you just want to make sure that these are as dry as possible. You'll be surprised at just how much liquid can actually be on these just from adding them to these kebabs, especially the kiwis. Alright, have you ever dipped sliced apples? Usually I just do whole apples. I have done sliced apples. Again, you want to make sure that you get them completely dry before you try them, and that can be a little bit tricky. So like if you've done, have you ever seen those like little mini apple bites where you scoop a little bit of apple out and try to dip it in caramel? It tends to like just drip right off the apple. Kind of the same thing with these. So I think the oranges are going to work just fine. I know the strawberries are going to work because I've done them many, many times. The kiwis are the only ones that I'm a little bit concerned of and wary of. I've seen them done, which is why I decided to try them. I think grapes obviously would be perfect because they also have the skin. The kiwis are going to be the trickiest ones out of this whole bunch. And sliced apples would be the same way because of that raw, open fruit that you're then putting in the sugar. It's going to cause the sugar to react a little bit, the sugar syrup that we're working on, and it's also going to not necessarily stick to the skin the same way. Okay, we are getting close. We're at 260, about 20 more degrees. Reported. Thank you, Nicola. You love my informative videos. Hey, nice. Okay. Oops. Alright, so does anybody have any other questions? Because we are all prepped. We have all of our fruit and our kebabs ready to go. We have everything patted dry. We have the sugar coming up to temperature. And you never know how long it's going to take. This is one of those recipes that I can't really say, oh, this is only going to take you 15 minutes, because honestly it really depends on a lot of factors. One, your altitude, like we've talked about at the beginning of the video, but also the weather, that where you're like right now. When the barometer pressure changes, that can wreak havoc on candy making. When I lived in Arizona, I never had trouble candy making. One, because it's sea level, so all the recipes were great. And two, because it's so dry and there's never any storms and the barometer practically never changes. Like, it is great for candy making. I thought, oh, this was before I had done a lot of research and knew a lot about what I was doing when I lived there. And I'm like, dang, I just became the world's best candy maker and caramel maker. I'm a rock star. And then I moved again. And all of a sudden I moved someplace that had changes in weather and was a higher altitude. And all of a sudden all my like, I'm a dang good candy maker went out the window. And that's when I really started to do research and learn about what was causing the problem. So Utah has been a really hard place to live for candy making, especially Utah in the spring because the weather changes so fast. North Carolina was another hard place because even though it was closer to sea level, you constantly be getting storms and no storms and sunny and rainy, and changes in the barometer are really a problem. So there's a lot of factors that go into this. So you can't just say, you can't make this and create this on a specific timeline and give yourself a super strict deadline. That's why this is one of those things that's super fun to make with my kids as an after-school snack when we get a batch of strawberries. My other favorite way to eat strawberries, oh, we're getting close, we're at 270. My other favorite way to eat strawberries is actually with sour cream and brown sugar. That's my kids' other favorite. So I don't know, how do you guys like to eat strawberries? I also have a toffee dip on the blog that I love for apples and strawberries as well. It's cream cheese and brown sugar and toffee bits, and it is so good. So anyway, oh, it looks like we are having, I see the problem that we're having with the YouTube video. For some reason it has gone private, which is not supposed to be. You gotta love that. Let's see if we can fix that. I could not figure out why nobody was watching. That's always fun. Okay, so, and we are at temperature. So, like I said, you want to work really quickly. So I'm going to bring my sugar back over and, let's see. Okay, so I'm turning off the temperature because we have hit the temperature that we are looking for. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to tilt this over a little bit so I get a little bit more depth over here, and I'm going to immediately dip my strawberry in and then let it drip off a little bit and kind of turn it around and immediately place it over on my silpat mat. So let's do that again, kind of tilt it so I get a little bit of depth right here. Swirl my sugar in it and shake it off. And then put that down on the silpat mat. So now I'm going to try the mandarin oranges. I'm going to dip it. Oop, I can't seem to get that last one. There we go. Shake it off. Shake it on both sides. And put it on the silpat mat. So try this again. There we go. Like I said, we want to work quickly. Alright, now let's try one of the kiwis. So dipped inside. Let's see how this goes. It looks like it's sticking to it pretty good, but as you can see how the strings are getting thicker, that's because this is starting to cool off. So I'm going to give it another minute, and then I'm going to turn it down to low. So same thing again. Okay. Oops. Not touching. And shake it off. Okay. Alright, so now we're going to try the bigger kebabs. Now this is going to be a little bit trickier. So again, I used the wider pan so I could do this a little bit better and stick the whole kebab down in it. That actually worked pretty good, and I didn't burn my fingers, so that's a win-win. Put that on the parchment paper, or on the silpat mat. Okay, whoop. I'm having a hard time getting this kiwi completely covered, because, oh, I burned myself. Oh, I burned myself hot. Ha 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 ha. And drip off. Oh. Okay, whew. Hot, 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 hot. I'll run my finger under some cold water real fast. Whew. This is one of those times that I'm grateful for my long nails. Whew, man, that was hot. I'm gonna have a blister on that fingertip. Okay, last skewer. Let's give this one a try again. Okay, be a little bit more careful. Oh, and I'm actually going to get out a spoon because I'm having a hard time getting this last one covered. So I'm going to take a spoon and pour some sugar on this. See if that will help get this last one a little bit more covered. And you can see why you want to have everything pre-prepped to get started with this. That's not gonna, there we go. All right, and shake it off. And put on the silpat mat. Okay, whew. Now I have stringy sugar everywhere. Isn't that pretty? Nice sugar string. Okay, let's move this off to the side. And unplug this. Get this one moved off. And bring the silpat mat in so you can see everything. All right, so we did 2 strawberries, 2 mandarin oranges skewers, 3 kiwi skewers, and then a couple of these. So now if I immediately rip these off the silpat mats, the sugar, this was the very first one that I did, and you can see it actually came off really good. You can see the texture from the mat right there. And can you hear this? Let's turn this off. Turn the fan off now that we don't have heat anymore. So it's a nice hard shell, and this is the first one that we did. So it's actually a nice thin shell too. Those are always the best ones, the early ones. Let's see if one of these already, oops, I put these a little too close together on the mats, and now they're stuck together. Yeah, I'm gonna be able to break that. There we go. All right, and this one is still warm. I would let this set up just a little bit longer, but it is hard already. Okay, so then the next ones that we did were these kiwis. So let's, oh, that is not going to come off. All right, like I thought, this one is, because of the juice from the kiwi, can you see that? Hold on, let's try this other angle. It's hard, not quite as hard. The top is completely hard, has a nice crunch to it, but it's definitely already gooping on the inside. I can see how the fruit is already, can you see that dripping and pulling away? Let's see, this one right here, I actually made the mistake of trying to lift up and readjust while it was setting. And so you can see the sugar on this one totally already came off. But so the kiwis, like I assumed, you can, I don't know if you can see that this is already has like little juice running all around it. The kiwis are definitely the least, they're gonna hold on the least. And this is one that I did closer to the end. So you can see that this had a lot of extra sugar on it because the sugar was starting to cool and get thick. So those earlier ones are best. This is one that's nice to do with, the reason that I like to do this with all my kids is because I'll quickly make the syrup and then we'll all dip our sugars at the same time, our strawberries at the same time, so we can actually get quite a few done. This is one of those things that's nice to have helping hands for. Okay, so let's try our skewers now, see how they did. Right, here is the, oop, they're kind of stuck together. Oh, I'm having a harder time getting these, there we go. Okay, so it's actually turned out pretty good because this kiwi was, the strawberry lifted up the kiwi. So I think this would work better when you, like, instead of putting them on a silpat mat, if you like had something you're putting it in like this, like the street vendors do, because then the sugar would just drip down this way. You don't have to worry about that. So this one where I had the strawberry at the bottom instead of the kiwi at the bottom, it actually worked out really well because then the whole thing was actually fairly flat. So the whole kiwi is covered really nicely. But you can see the kiwi's already dripping, dripping juice out. And this is the one that we spoon stuff onto it. And again, it had a flatter surface down here, so that's nice. So if you are going to put this on a parchment paper, make sure that this is a little bit on the flatter side. You'll have an easier time with this, and you won't get this big, huge gap like we did on this one. All right, so candied strawberry, the classic, the one that I make all the time. It's beautiful, it's shiny. This is strawberry season beginning now, so this is a great way to do this. But it's definitely fun to change it up. I think my kids are really going to enjoy this. I think grapes would have worked out really, really well, and so do these mandarin oranges. Oh, come on, focus. There we go. These actually turned out really well and are quite pretty. I like these a lot. All right, so the longer you wait, the longer it takes, the thicker your candy coating is going to be. You can see how thick this one is versus how thin this first one is that we got. Oh, come on. That we got first. This is actually nice and thin. So that's why I usually stick with the strawberries. I usually have like 30 on skewers all at once, and then as soon as the sugar's ready, my kids and I, we all dip and do this with our parchment paper. And it's actually like a strawberry sucker lollipop because there's the sugar coating, but it's real strawberry inside. So this is how my kids like to eat them. So now I get to try them. Hold on, I'm still a little bit warm. I think it burned my tongue. Okay. As you can see, big bite. So you can see the candy coating shouldn't be too thick. Here's a chunk of it. So it's just like making and eating a sucker. I would stay away from strawberry flavoring and let the strawberry itself be the flavor for this. A big bite. But a complementary flavor like lemon or citrus, something like that would be really nice. But I've never bothered. I've always just done it plain and let the strawberry itself speak for itself. So, all right, let's try one of the mandarin oranges now. I haven't done this one before. No, actually really good. I like that. But now I have a mouthful of sugar again. All right, I'm all sticky. Okay. Whew. Probably enough sugar for me when I'm not feeling well. Anyway, whew, yeah, okay. So that is it. That's how easy they are to make. Like I said, it's a really fun after-school activity with me and my kids that we like to do in the spring and early summer. You can see that there's a lot of endless possibilities. Like I said, I would probably stay away from the fruits that are sliced just because it's going to be a lot trickier, and this is already, because of the timing and the speed and the temperature, it's already just tricky enough that I would stick with things that have skins, like the strawberries, mandarin oranges, and grapes, just especially when you're working with kids, just for the ease and the lack of frustration. For adults, oh, look at this one. We're already getting super goopy on this. For adults, I think the kiwi would be really, really fun, but I don't know if you really want to deal with something that is going to go juicy and goopy that quickly. But anyway, that is it. Next week, what am I doing? Oh, next week I'm going to be doing my almond poppy seed bundt cake. And the week after that, I'm actually going to be on vacation for spring break. So I'm going to try to go live making my peanut butter cookies with my kids at the beach house that we're staying at. But I can't promise anything, but I'm going to try to go live. So again, next Tuesday at 4:30 p.m. Mountain Time, 3:30 Pacific, 6:30 Eastern, and I'm going to stay on for just a couple minutes and finish answering questions. So thanks for watching, and don't forget to like the page or subscribe on YouTube so that you don't miss anything in the future. So, all right, really quickly, thank you. This is easy to do. They don't keep long though. I know, they really don't. They're gorgeous to look at. They're really fun to eat, but they don't keep long. So this is definitely one of those things that's, like I said, it's great for a snack at the time that you're making it. Try soaking the skewers before using them. If I'm going to be grilling my skewers, I do soak them, but for this, the skewers don't get in the hot syrup, so I don't bother soaking them, but you totally can. But I wouldn't want them to be in any way slippery because of my fingers and grabbing them, stuff like that. Cake pop stand would be good, Nicola. That's exactly what I was trying to say. You are definitely right. This is terrible. So much spam comments. It's hard to see the real ones this week. You like to dip your strawberries in cream cheese and marshmallow cream for strawberry dipping. That sounds really good, Cynthia. In salted karma. Nicola, you speak my language. Caramel anything is pretty much my love language. All right, I think I caught up with all the actual legit questions. I'm gonna go get on my computer right now and block all the spammers. Thanks for being patient through that. That's when it would be nice to have like somebody behind the scenes here to do that. But this was a quick one. I hope you enjoyed it. Candied strawberries, like I said, are one of the top blog posts on my blog Everybody loves them. They're just so pretty and so fun to make, and I hope you give them a try. And if you do, let me know what you think. So yeah, that's it. This is a nice short video this week. So thank you so much for joining me. Thanks for watching, and have a great week. Okay.